Frontend versus backend. Okay, frontend versus okay. Anyone that I believe anyone that is there, see that you're a learner, you're a beginner, or you're an expert, or still coming up, or someone that is just like you've heard about technology and then you've heard about what programming and what's front end, or you've heard about okay, this is front end programming, backend programming. So we are here to just shed more light and just ensure that we were able to distinct between what front end is and what backend is. So we'll be like conflicting and stuff like that. All right, moving on. So what is front end development? So it's the process of building web components that interact with users. So that's just what front end, like that's just kind of a simple definition of what front end development is. Like basically building web components on the web so that people can actually, so that users, I'll be using that still was a lot. Okay, so that users can actually interact with your website. So what is a website? A website is just a web page that is accessible to everyone. Like anybody that has the URL of your website can actually access it. It's just like a computer somewhere, like a kind of it's a storage location somewhere for everyone that can actually access it. Like just like a storage location. Okay, maybe for example, everyone I want to tweet, like okay, I want to socialize. We have Twitter. I want to socialize, then you just go to twitter.com. Then you go there. If it's Instagram, we go there. So that's just what let's say a website is told. We have the application part. So a website is just like a computer somewhere where you can actually come to get information. Yeah. So for front-end development, so those things were actually built. So the development of it is what you are trying to talk about here. So the front-end development, it includes text, colors, button, images, animation, videos. If you check Instagram now, you see some videos. Twitter is more of text, and then Facebook is more of both pictures and the likes. So this application, these websites, they actually developed. They are developed by some languages, by some technology that technology that constitutes this application, this website. So there are three basic languages used for front-end development. They are basic for front-end. So we have the HTML, CSS, and the JavaScript. Those are the three major things at which you can actually build your website. So we have many websites. I don't know why I'm actually more switching. I don't know why Twitter comes to my head or stuff like that. But we have many websites. We have e-commerce website as well. We have story, a whole lot of things. We even have a blog. A simple blog is also a website. Yes. So what constitutes these things? So HTML, CSS, JavaScript. So we're picking it one after the other. Yeah. So HTML. What does HTML mean? So HTML is that hypertext markup language. So from the word, I think from those that acronym the name, like I thought of the name, they actually done a lot of justice to actually let us know what these guys do. So HTML, so it's a fundamental coding markup language that creates an organized web content so it can be displayed by a browser. So a browser is an application on any device that can actually access it, like your mobile phone, your laptop. So they have an application called a browser. So a browser is just an application that allows us to access content of the web. Yeah. So that's just the basic definition of what a browser is. So by this, we have the HTML allows us to actually display, like to organize web content. So all those things are basically so okay. Basic thing is that you can see here in the diagram here. I have a picture here. Excuse me. So I have a picture here. Then you won't actually be seeing this doc type, HTML, all those tag like kind of right hand symbol and all those things. You don't see them. But basically you've seen something like this is a heading. This is a paragraph. Maybe I can show this thing. Maybe as we continue. So the HTML part it renders for us, like it renders our web content in sense that what you can actually like render all these hyperlinks, links to other images, just like displaying data to people. Like it renders it, like the HTML is like a markup. Please get me clear. It's not a programming language, it's a markup language. A markup is just like a kind of a structure for actually, it's a structure for setting content on the web. Yes, just like kind of having us have, you can see H1, you can see like just in the diagram, I have this is a header, then I have P, this is a paragraph. You know, they are in when you are writing, maybe like writing or maybe using Microsoft Word, yes. So you have something like this, you have header, you have sub header. So you have like you can give different fonts to a particular word in MS Word. Maybe a kind of header, you can give it like kind of just how you ever want it. So we also have that kind of language for the web. So, and that is what HTML do for us. Moving on. So CSS. CSS, we have, so I would love to say that this is just a paraphrase because they actually this front end development is actually in depth. You have to read like because there are a whole lot of books on it. Like basically the textbook I use then like what is all really textbook like they have a bunch of whole explanatory on it. Yeah, so this is just a kind of path a surface level explanation. So there are materials online. You can just go to like get them and then search through it. So it will give us much in depth of what we are actually talking about. So this is just a paraphrase. Thank you. So CSS. So CSS is cascading style sheet. So it defines the style of a website content, such as layout, colors, fonts, and is the standard language that specifies how to display HTML content. Yes, it's just as the name implies, it said cascading style sheets. So it's basically styles, but like kind of adding color, just like decoration. You know, for example, you have a building and excuse me, you have a building, it has been furnished, then you just okay, let's just have a kind of interior decoration inside of it. So you call an interior decorator, they just kind of they do their magic on the house. Then you like, oh, this house is much more beautiful. So instead of just, or even for example, when you're building a house, then you when the bricklayer or all those constructor, they lay the foundation, they lay the bricks. So after laying the bricks, that is not just all you see. I don't know if maybe you have been chance to actually been on the site. So you just there are blocks there and they lay the blocks, but that is not where it is going. Then at the point they add some kind of cement, which they actually plaster it. Yes. So after plastering it changes this color, it changes the surface of that block. So you won't be seeing blocks kind of rectangular blocks again, just be seeing a kind of a blank wall. So that's also what CSS does. CSS adds styles to our HTML. Yes. So this is a heading, this is a paragraph in this image. We can actually beautify it. It just because it's just this is HTML is just a markup language whereby we just have it there. Just is a kind of it's a skeleton. Yes, let me put it that way. It's a skeleton of the web content. But CSS does what? It's kind of add styling. It's kind of like add a kind of intuitive design to your HTML, to your web content, whereby you just like you said there, we have color, you can add a whole bunch of style properties to it, which we have now the kind of it. You know, you kind of maybe you visited a lot of sites, so you just like a kind of animation, just through the text, and then it's kind of just spin. Just like, oh, this site is so beautiful. What makes it beautiful is the CSS. Yes, it's the CSS that makes it so beautiful. It adds a lot of properties styling to it, which makes it very much beautiful. Yeah, moving on. So yeah, so we're diving into so how does this thing come into play? So there is also a language, but not a programming language now. It's just like a kind of it's a styling language. So it has its own property, it has its own it has its own way of writing it in the code. Yes. So we have type of CSS. How CSS is being written in our HTML. We have types. We have the inline CSS. We have the external CSS, internal CSS, and then the external CSS. So this image displayed there is an example of an external CSS that is being written. So an external, okay, let me just pick one after the other. Inline CSS is it's a type of styling done that is done on that same HTML content. What am I saying? I think I have to start. Okay. So I also hope you can see a coding editor. Can you? Can anyone see a code editor? A code editor rather.
Yes.
All right, thank you. So for the inline styling rather, so we have the picture that we have. We have a picture in this HTML. So we have a front end development, and also this is just this is the coding part. The one I showed in the slide is is an image that was just screenshotted here. So we have it here. So a code editor, I want to be sure that everyone knows, at least partially. So a code editor is just a code is an editor for coding. So it's where you actually write your language, your programming language, or everything you want to pertain into programming. So this is VS Code, and it can actually do a couple of studies. It helps us to write our languages. Yes, our programming languages, our markup language, as it is here. So in this line 22, so we have this is a subheading. So this is a subheading. Then we have something called style. You can see even from the name, you can actually know that okay, this guy is not part of HTML. Is not from HTML, but is a CSS property. So HTML provides that attribute to actually what style a particular element on the page. So supplying the style attributes, so you can actually define a bunch of properties into that style. So this particular line 22 is a type of inline styling. That is, it is on that same, just like beside it, just like living beside your neighbor. Just like okay, this is a subheading, and then the style that controls or does any kind of thing on this subheading content is this style property here. So this is an example of an inline style, inline CSS rather. Yeah, so internal CSS. So internal CSS cannot it will not be written beside a particular element on the page, but what it will actually be referenced on the header part of the page. So what do I mean by that? If I get, okay, let me just show the code again. So basically, there is structure for HTML. We have okay, so and I just want to just dissect the structure of an HTML page. So basically, we have this doc type. It's very, very necessary. I think it was introduced in HTML5 because they all have versions like it in a while. Just like there's an update to everything. So we have the doc type, then we have the HTML tag here. So that's where everything you want to write concerning a web page is being written. Like that's where you dump everything. You just want to write. So then we have the head tag here. So that's the head. So and then it has an opening tag and then a closing tag, just like kind of have a kind of segment, a section. So you actually you'll be able to differentiate between okay, this is a particular section, this is a particular section, and this is another particular section. So we have the head tag. So this is where you can actually put your internal CSS by the provider through the use of this statement. We have link. We have the link tag. So in this link tag, it has attribute of href, where you can actually supply the URL of hey, I'm moving too fast. Sorry, that's not it. Excuse me. This is what I'm talking about. This is the internal CSS. Excuse me. Yes, this is internal CSS. You can actually specify internal CSS using the style tag. So you can have multiple what's it called? You can declare as much as possible as you want on the same inside the head tag. So you have you have the style tag, then you can actually specify. So you have it here, style type CSS. Then you can define okay, this means that it's actually it's talking about the body. Yeah, the body of the content. So this body here. So then the H1. So any element in the body section that has H1 tag actually it will apply to everything. Yes. So this is an example of an internal CSS whereby in the head section you specify style, then you write all your You write all the CSS styles that you want to write. Please don't forget, we are trying to differentiate between what front end and back end development is. And we are trying to understand what constitute a front end, what constitute front end development. That what are the languages that constitute front end development. So we are discussing about HTML. We are discussed about HTML. Now we are on CSS. So just so that we don't get carried away. Yes, so that's internal. So external CSS is, as the name implies, external. Just like, okay, like kind of bringing something, like borrowing, just like borrowing. So that's when we now make use of this line 26, making use of link. So that's external. So you have what? You have the link tag, you have the href, style or CSS, and then you have the rel. So just to specify what are you actually talking about. So it's a style sheet. So then type /CSS. So this property is not here, or is not on this particular page. On this particular page, or it can be linked because it has been linked here. So we just go to that name here. This is a particular folder. So it's just like a house. So you can actually structure your codes, your files, dependent on however you want it. But you must make sure that you actually specify their parts correctly. Yes. So we have the style.css here. So whenever we run this HTML file, it's basically, it will load the style.css. It will load this particular page for us. It will load this particular file for us because what we've linked it in this particular in this line. So that's an example of external CSS. So moving on. So the type of CSS that we have: inline CSS, internal, external CSS. So okay, this is just an image of what it does. I think I've explained it. Okay, yeah. So that's just CSS for us. So JavaScript. Now we are going to writing programming codes. So JavaScript is a programming language used for more interactive elements. It's used to add dynamic to your web page. You can model animated UI components such as pop-ups, image sliders, and external navigation menus. Okay, so what's all this in English that I'm saying? JavaScript is a programming language used to actually add more interactive elements to your web content. So we've talked about HTML, we talked about CSS. HTML is just a markup, it's just static. HTML is just static. You write your P tag, you add your H1 tag, you write everything, it's just there. Our CSS adds styles to it, like having a color, having a type of font, like kind of font, if it is italics, if it is bold, if it is underlined, all those properties, you can add it using our CSS. So JavaScript actually does more by providing much more interaction, like kind of dynamism to your content, in the sense that maybe for an example, here we have image sliders. So there are a lot of calculations that will now be going through. Image slider is just, we have an image that scrolls, that will be horizontally, like maybe from left to right or right to left, dependent on how it was actually developed. So that's much more than that. That's what our JavaScript doing. What's good? That's what our JavaScript does when you're talking about front-end development. So it's basically add more intuitive to your web content. So if you can see in this image, we introduced something new from line 10 to 12. So we have a button tag, a button tag. So we have type button, then we have a special attribute called onClick. So onClick says document.getElements by ID demo is equal to, so all those things is not part of HTML, is not part of CSS, is JavaScript. So why do we add this? So this code, what it does is just kind of display. It displays the current date and time on the web page. So you can actually do this with HTML. You can do it. You can write just a dummy date on HTML. You can have let's say tag. You can have 2023. These dates 5 and 12. So we can have this. This can a date can be generated in on you in HTML, but it's not dynamic. That's when JavaScript come into play. So if I put this on the web on a server, if I put this date on the server, that's how it's going to be today, tomorrow, next tomorrow. Because if I want to change it, I have to go back to the server again by tomorrow. Okay, I will say tomorrow is 13th. The next tomorrow, I'll have to change it 14th. But there is no time. It's just a kind of time consuming to be going to a particular website domain, going to the accessing the files, then changing it one after the other. So that's one of the things that JavaScript actually does. Though JavaScript, since it's a programming language, it helps us to get real time dates without having to stress ourselves going to the JavaScript has already done it. JavaScript has is a because it is a programming language. It has a lot of functions, a lot of parameters, a lot of libraries that can actually help us perform day-to-day interaction on the web. Yes. So with JavaScript, we can do that. So yes, so we can do that. So by just saying display date, it will actually display for us. Let me try it. Okay, the background is too much. It's too much. You can see. Oh, I got in machine too. Okay, next. I hope you can see. Yes. Okay. So now I'm referring to this is index.html. This index.html. Fine. So I will have a date. So tag 2023 05. Today's date is 12. So it's basically it shows us on the web. Excuse me. So it shows us on the web. We have that. So this one says click me to display date and time. So you can see I didn't type anything. I didn't type all this on the web page. This content, if I search for it on this page, I can't find it. It's not here. But what gives us that? What helps us with that ability is what is JavaScript. So that's why JavaScript can actually be integrated into your web page, whereby it provides a kind of dynamism to what you can actually do. So you can see it even gives us the time. The current time now is 4:29. So if you refresh this page, and so it says 16:29. So this is the kind of 24-hour time. So that's one of the usage of JavaScript. It helps us. So it's used for more interactive elements. It adds dynamism to your web page. Yeah, moving on. So also same way with CSS. We have type of CSS. The way we can actually add CSS to our web page. We have the inline, we have the internal, and then we have the external CSS. Same way with JavaScript as well. So in our code here, it's inside the page. So in our code here, if you see line 10 in this image, line 10, we have onClick document.get elements dot all this equal to date. So this guy is an inline script. It's written beside our HTML. Is beside our HTML tag. Is inside this button tag. So that's an inline script as well. So you can do that, but it's kind of limited when you're writing JavaScript code. It's limited because a programming language is kind of you kind of write more lines. So you can't be writing more lines on the same page. It will be too bulky and even too difficult to read. So then you can go with the internal what's it called? You can go with the internal script writing here. So then you can add from line 17 to 21. So you can add a script tag. So then you can create a function. So these are basically going to programming. So please, it's just on a surface level. So we have a function display date. So then we can see that a lot of things are changed. Line 10, we just have display dates, then the kind of brackets. So this display date, on displaying this on the web, it's when it reads it, say okay, it said on click. So it's just an event listener. I said on click. You will see that when I clicked this button, when I refresh this page, this button is just here. It was when I clicked this button that it displays. So it's just that same way. So it's just um kind of the name itself, it's the name explains what it does. So on click when the user clicks this button, activate, call this function which is display date. So we actually go get to this line and excuse me, get to this line and then just do everything that you want to do. So this is an internal script as well. It's on that same HTML page. But if you want to have an external page, just like we did for CSS, just like we did for CSS, we just add we add a tag whereby you actually write the URL of that script where it is. So you can see here in this image script line, we have the script.js, and then most of the stuff are not there. Document.get element. Okay, this is the file here now. So this is an external file here, which you can actually incorporate into your HTML as well. Then it does the same thing. Yeah, moving on. So far, we've looked at HTML, look at CSS, look at JavaScript. Those are the basic languages that constitute front-end development. Please take notes. So front-end development frameworks. So frameworks. So frameworks are just they are just a tool whereby they provide ready-made code and components. So they don't they give us the opportunity to not start from scratch any longer. So they already have built-in libraries where you don't have to start writing some things on your own, start doing some things on your own, start moving files, bundling separating files on your own anymore. So they actually done a couple of things. So common front-end development frameworks. So we have VJS, React, Angular, jQuery, Bootstrap, I wrote jQuery twice. Sorry about that. Then Tailwind. So Vue.js is actually a JavaScript framework. Also React and Angular. They are JavaScript framework, but they are also under front-end development frameworks. So Bootstrap is a CSS utility component whereby it allows us to write responsive style sheet designs. So it takes the burden of just trying to starting to write all your responsiveness when you talk about responsive design on your web page. So Bootstrap is just another it's a framework on its own whereby you don't have to I didn't have a picture for it, but Bootstrap is it actually like kind of lifts burden, so you don't have to start worrying about sometimes they have inbuilt functions where you can just pick it up, or you have to read, like you have to know what you are trying to do to actually use it, so you can read it up. So jQuery is also a JavaScript library. It's not a framework. So it's the same way we wrote this. The same way we wrote this, it can be written using jQuery, but in another way. So jQuery is just like a library. It's just some tech people that just okay, let's have a way of doing this in another way, just lift burden, because since here writing code from scratch it's not beans. Yeah. So also Tailwind as well is Tailwind is also Tailwind is a CSS framework itself. So in this sense, it's also just kind of having a shortcut. Yeah, Tailwind is a CSS utility class whereby you can just write, instead of having this color padding and the likes, it can be here. So it's just like age 10, then you have width 50 and stuff like that. So though you will have undone them, you will have what's it called? You will have registered the components and all that because you have linked it. If you don't link it, it will not work. It's just like a normal text because it needs its library to actually work. Yeah, so that's just that about that. So from front-end development, we have the framework, the Vue.js, the React, the Angular, and all these guys constitute what front end. They constitute front end development. So those are the tools, the languages that are attributed to front end development. So just to make things clear. So the difference between front end development and web design, you'll have seen that, oh, I'm a web designer, I'm a web developer, I'm a this, I'm a that, I'm even a full stack developer. All these things, they are grammar, but they are grammar and they are grammar and they have usage. Like everyone has their own responsibility. So web design deals with the aesthetics of the website, as well as the convenience in using the website. So before when writing an application, when developing a website, let's say for example a blog, yeah, let's just start a blog for example. So before you can start, so before you can start developing, writing your HTML, your CSS, all those languages to actually constitute your web page, you can consult a web designer. So what they do? So you like, excuse me, you reach out to a web designer and you reach out to a web designer and they you reach out to a web designer and you explain your idea to them. Okay, I want a blog, I want this, I want that, I want this, I want that. So the web designer will actually what come up with a with it's how should I explain, like the web designer will come up with, let's say, uh with a okay, yes, a web designer will come up with a wireframe. What is wireframe? Just a design um for those that are familiar with Figma and all these designing tools. So a web designer uses those things to what to design all the ideas that you want, how you want your page to look, how you want the header to be, how you want the footer to be, the color you want, the background you want. That's what the web designer does. But front-end development, it's front-end development at now what it translates what the web designer has designed into codes, into what can be translatable into what they transform those design into an interactive website. Because those wireframes, they are not codes. So we now have no codes tools and the likes. But for front-end development, those the front-end developer what we use those designs that the web designer has designed, and then what translate those things into HTML. Then we have different systems. You now have different parts because you want a website that is functional. You just don't want you don't just want an image, because all those wireframes, they can be translated into an image whereby you see them, but there is no interaction that can be done with that. So that's when front-end development comes into play. So front-end will actually what it involves what the functionality of the website, whereby it's so that you can actually it makes your website to be interactive. So that's the difference between when you talked about okay, the front-end development, the web design, what do they do? So yeah, that's that about front-end development. So for front-end development, we've talked about HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. Those are the three major languages to actually build a basic website for us. So for backend development, so what's backend? Front end. I think even from the word, you can actually say front. Front end is basically front end is, as we've discussed, it deals with visual, what you can actually see, what you can actually see. So that's front end. So backend is what it's like behind the scene, just like it's like behind the scene, like the government that you don't see, like you don't see them, but they're actually working. Or basically when you are dealing with backend, you don't deal with style, you don't deal with color, no, but you are dealing with basically data and then some kind of engineering to make sure that your website is actually working and to make sure that your front end is also in place. Yes. So backend development is responsible for storing and organizing data and ensuring everything on the client side. Client side is front end. So you can actually use client side or use front end. Therefore, backend we said is server side. Yeah, we call it server side. So the backend communicates with the front end, sending and receiving information to be displayed as a web page. So that is just it. So the backend is with data. What do you mean by that? So you've basically come across websites whereby you put a form. Maybe let's say also a blog. A blog can have a subscription mode like a newsletter. Now you get details of your users, your subscribers, and you input your email, you input your name. You should be wondering like, okay, where does this information go? But that's the function of the backend. So the backend receive the data and also send the response to the front end that okay, I've gotten the data, you are fine. Tell the user to consider. Thank you for subscribing to us. So that's the relationship between front end and back end. They are different, but they work together to achieve an interactive page. So that's that. So those data that was sent the back end manages is they are stored somewhere. They are stored somewhere, and that's what we are. That's what brings us to database. So database store website content in a structure that makes it easy to retrieve, organize, edit, and save data. Yes. So our database is like a storage where we store. We are talking about a newsletter module for a blog website. When you submit your email, your name, it's stored somewhere. So where it is stored is the tool that allows us to store that data is the database. So we have different database. We have MySQL, we have SQL Server, we have Postgres, we have Oracle, we have MongoDB. You can see that there are different tools to be used when it comes to web development, but you can't use everything at once. You can't say you want to build a site, you want to use everything. No, you just have to choose your own niche and then just stick with it and just use it. Though they have different methods, they have different ways of using, and they also have use case at which you use them. So you can't just combine everything. So firstly, you have to know what you are trying to do. So yeah, you can actually choose the best tool that suits what you want to achieve. Moving on. So databases, as I've said, because we listed it, I just packed everything here. They are different, as I've said, in the use cases. So we have relational database. So just to be clear, we are no longer in the front end space. We are now at the back end side. So that's where we've talked about database now. So we are moving into relational database versus non-relational database. So from the word relational, it means something that appears. When you talk about relational, it's just like anything moment, like something that goes small means something like let's just like a kind of a unique identifier that you can relate with something. Yes. So a relational database works like linking information from multiple tables. So basically, a structure of a database is different. So we have tables. So tables like kind of is like let's say a database is for example, you can say a database is a house. So in a house we have different rooms. So each rooms represent table. So in a particular room there are different things that are inside the room. So yeah, so let's just put it that way. So in a room we have different things. Even in the kitchen, they are just like they have different properties, rows and columns. Yeah. So for relational database, so they are linked by the use of key. So the key is a unique identifier that just like having okay, this is something that I identify with. That's what a relational database is. So for non-relational database, it does not it does not concern with about relationship or anything. It just wants to receive data and store it. It doesn't want to know if okay you are related or doesn't contact. It's just kind of they have separate what's it called. It has its own separate use. It does not deal with okay, I am related to this. I'm not related to any other people. I'm just on my own. Yeah, so that's, and then we have different examples of non-relational database. We have the MongoDB, we have the Apache, Cassandra, Redis, Couchbase, Apache, HBase. So all these databases, they have their use cases, and then they have at what point you use them. You can't just pick it up. You have to check what do I need them, what do I want to achieve. You have to check your goal. Okay, is this type of thing that I need? Okay, what are the available database? Okay, does this database suit what I want to do? So that's the reason for different database. They have their own use cases at which it's being used. So we'll be talking about the backend development. We've talked about a form, a newsletter. You submit your name, email, your name and your email, and then it installs. For front-end development, we said we have HTML, we have CSS, we have JavaScript. These guys, they display content for us on the web. For backend, what constitutes it? How does it get that data that is being used? It gets the data by also some programming languages. So what backend development language, they are programming languages to perform behind the scene. That's why I said that earlier, that they do behind the scene work. You can't see backend stuff on the front end. So it's just a kind of, they just interact together through an API or even on the server itself. So they perform behind the scene work that creates a website structure and overall functionality. And so it's the backend languages that actually interact with the database to store, organize, and edit data. So those data that the front end, that the user has submitted on the front end, get sent to the backend. So the backend languages now accept those data, then send this to the database, save this, and then return some kind of information that, okay, I've gotten the information. So that's our backend language are the mechanism, yes, are the mechanism that helps us transport our data from front end to our database and then send it back. And then why do we have database? The reason why we have database is just for data saving. Okay, I say this thing just for future purpose. Okay, I have this thing here. Okay, I can come back tomorrow and I'll still meet it there. So that's just it. So there are different languages. We have Java, we have Python, we have PHP, we have .NET, we have Ruby. All these languages, they can perform backend functionalities, but they have their own usage, they have their own use case. So we just have to just take note of that. So yeah, we're almost getting there. So just talk about, I think almost done. So just talk about client server communication. That is, our client is the front end, our server is the back end. How do they communicate? Let's use Twitter for an example. At the beginning, we mentioned that HTML helps us display web content by a browser. So for you to actually access a website, you need a browser. That's an application. So you got your Google Chrome. Okay, this Safari is being used. This is a diagram for Safari. So you open it, you type your search, twitter.com. So our browser now is serving as a client. So you type twitter.com, I can see the URLs, so child, please. So once you type that, so basically what you're saying that, okay, I'm trying to get this guy on the web space. So once you click it, so there is some kind of mechanism. So the browser sends that data to the server, Twitter server. So once it gets there, does okay, this person needs this. Then what if it turns an HTML to the web browser? So that's when you now have a kind of descriptive. So you now have a kind of color. You can see this is an example of a profile page of a Twitter user. So you have the picture, you have everything, you have it. So this is just a simple architecture of what actually happens whenever you click or you try to click something, and you try to search for a content. Maybe you type twitter.com, type facebook.com, or any other URL that you have. Yeah. So conclusion. So far, we've discussed what front-end and back-end development is all about. We're able to establish that both terminologies have different roles in the field of web development. Yet they work together to achieve a common goal, which is what a functional and interactive website. Those are the major goals of a website. those are the major goals of what, okay, we say for this is front-end, this is back-end. They are different, but they work together to achieve what a functional and interactive website. That is very, very important. They are different, but what they work hand in hand. So with this few points of mine, I think I've been able to convince and not convince you that front-end is different from back-end, and they work hand in hand. We can have what's it called? We can have our front end code inside our back end code as well. So that's when we are talking about server side vending and the likes. But they are different. So this session is just help us to actually differentiate what front end is and what back end is. Thank you very much. Over to the host.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Ezekiel. Do we have any questions? Maybe we should just take questions right away so that
yes, good afternoon, Ezekiel, and good afternoon, everyone. So, Ezekiel, thank you for this wonderful presentation. At least I have learned a lot about front end and back end, like how they work together. But then my question is that while you were presenting, you said something about like you were making an example of Twitter. Like you said, let's say you want to like check the profile page of, let's say you have logged into your Twitter account and you are trying to like check the profile page, like you are making an API request to a particular endpoint on Twitter, and what is being returned is HTML. I don't really understand that part, because what I feel is that like probably like the front end must have what's it called, designed the interface of whatever the profile page would look like already. So maybe you're just making the API call to get the details of, let's say, the profile name and other things. So I don't know if you can like clarify that or explain more about that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So basically, what I was trying to explain here is what I'm trying to explain here is how the web page comes in speak. Actually, these parts, there are a lot of things going on here, but we're just trying to explain the client and server communication scenario. Now, our client is the browser. Our client is the browser. So once you type twitter.com PLC, it's when you type twitter.com, it sends a request to Twitter server, right? It sends request to Twitter server. Then it returns HTML page to web browser. While returning the HTML page, what's it called? While returning the HTML page, the details of this particular person will also be attached as well. So this sole child please is like I'm very, very sure is a username for Twitter. So is an identifier for
Okay.
is an identifier for a particular what's it called? For a particular user on Twitter.
Okay.
So
okay.
if you can type twitter.com, it will bring you another page, which is different from, it's just like kind of home page, because we have different pages on the web. For Twitter, they have their own home page. Then they have the profile page of the user. So I think that's why. So sorry about that. So this so child please is a username. Yes, because even while I was saying you should follow me on Twitter, so we have twitter.com/one done easy. So this is my username here. So once you click on that, it sends to Twitter. So it's like, okay, I'm looking for this person. So what? And then it returns an HTML page with all the details about me.
Okay. I think I understand better now. I guess my problem is that I'm trying to look for because I'm actually a mobile app developer. So I'm trying to look for that kind of like I'm trying to mirror mobile to web. I guess it doesn't work that way.
No.
Thank you very much. Yeah, thank you very much.
Thanks.
okay,
do you have any other questions?
Yeah, any other questions? Do we have any other questions or?
Sorry, Ezekiel.
Okay,
I saw
okay.
your profile now and I can see. Sorry, I don't know what that means. You can find me on the internet. What does that mean?
What's that? What is it?
You can find me on Obasanjo's internet.
Oh, that's just the kind of Obasanjo's internet is just internet. So it's not a separate internet. So I'm basically, I'm in Nigeria. So internet, Obasanjo got internet. Obasanjo was once a president, a former president of Nigeria. So during his era, he was one that brought about internet to Nigeria. So that was why I used that word. So don't get confused. It's the internet.
Okay, thank you.
It's the internet. So
Okay, do we have any other questions for
Yes,
Ezekiel?
yes, yeah. I think I have one question now.
Okay, Rocky, please go.
I'm sorry to bother you, Ezekiel. I don't know if this is part of the whole what's called about presentation. So I want to ask hosting web, all this hosting stuff. Like can you please can you just say something about them? Because I'm currently
hosting.
trying to make some research about because I have this project that I'm working on personally. So I'm trying to it's actually like it's a web-based application actually. So I'm currently trying to make some research about how I'm going to make sure that after I've written my code, I can just send a URL to somebody like anybody and they can view whatever it is I'm doing. Do you understand?
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get a question. Okay, so I will just use this as an example. So I displayed this. I tried to display this. So I mentioned something about code editor. So this code editor has a server, has a local server. When you run it on VS Code, then it gives you a port. So this port is, your laptop itself is a server on it. So basically, when you're talking about server, it's a computer that is somewhere. So that's just it. So a server is another computer that is stored somewhere that can serve everybody and not just you. So for hosting, so after you've written your code, you've done everything, you've tested on your laptop, because you cannot design a website and then if you don't want to use it, like, hey, please, I'm coming, let me go and bring my laptop, please, on my laptop. No. Nobody,
Yeah.
how many people do you even want to reach? You can't reach everybody with a laptop and stuff like that. So that's why the internet comes to. That's why we have WW, that's World Wide Web. That is everybody having that same laptop. Even if they don't have a laptop, at least they have a device that is connected to the internet. They can access it. So hosting is just putting what you have done on another server that is public to everybody, that everybody can access. So what does it do? So in that sense, we have a domain. So the domain is just English language of just an English is an English form of the address of that server. So we have a domain name. So you have let's say twitter.com. So twitter.com. So that twitter.com now is very, very popular. But when you're trying to talk about on that server, the server does not do it. It might know twitter.com, but that's not the main point. Is an IP address. We call it internet protocol address. So you might have seen some here now. So we have 127.0.0.1. So this address is a local address. So that's a local host. It's on my laptop. So, but if you see some kind of, can I see? Yes, this type, I'm trying to work on something like this. So this is also an IP address. I've deployed it on the server, so it is there. So the server gave me this address which I can use. Though I've not converted it to a domain. So it's not converting. I've not mapped it to a domain. So map it to a domain, so I can't be cramming numbers. So words I kind of are easier to actually read than numbers. So if I click this now, it just load the same web page. So this guy is on a particular server elsewhere. So that's just, so hosting is just after you've done your development, you take it to a domain, a hosting platform. So now we have two things. We have hosting, we have domain. Yes. So hosting, for example, is a hosting is a house on its own. Is a house. So your domain, there are the rooms, there are the separate rooms, because you will have heard about subdomain as well. So you can have twitter.com, you will have seen it's twitter.com, then you have mobile.twitter.com, you will see web.twitter.com. Those web dots before the Twitter, they are subdomain. So they are still under the parent person of
Domain.
Twitter. Or
Okay.
they are separate stuff. So that's just how it is. You your hosting is the house. So your domain, which everyone can actually remember and read, your Twitter, your Facebook.com, they are the separate rooms in that particular house. So I hope that's clear. So for you to now host it, you have to go to an hosting provider. So you go there, like for example, we have GoDaddy, you have Namecheap, we have DigitalOcean, though if they are trying to deal with they're trying to deal with cloud hosting, we have shared hosting as well. Hosting car, all those hosting providers. So you go there,
Platform,
so
your
I think that's
project.
I hope
Thank you very much. Yeah, I understand. Thank you very much. Yeah. Thank you.
hello.
Thank you, Ezekiel, and thank you, Rakib. Do we have any other questions there? Okay, it appears as though there are no more questions. Okay, if that's the case, this is where we'll put the peg on it for today. Thank you so much, Ezekiel, for taking your time to take us through this session. Okay, Clementina has a question, Ezekiel. Can you give more free backend hosting sites?
Oh, okay. You can use vendor. Actually, the most one used before was Europe, but now because of the economic stuff, they've suspended few stuff. So you can use vendor. Vendor. Yeah, I'm not sure of it. So, yeah, vendor. So they have documentation where you can read up on all of that. So it's free. So they have just a kind of small a I think the search for it.
Okay. Thank you
Just
so
search for Vedra, RENDER. So it's a hosting stuff. It's free. So they have free platform where you can actually use.
Awesome. Thank you, Ezekiel. Do we have any other questions? You can drop it in the chat if you can't speak where you are. Okay, I think this is where we'll put the peg on it. Thank you so much. Thank you for this time. Okay, another question. Ogochukwu Jonathan says, can one work on both back end and front end at the same time?
Yes, not at the same time, but they can work together. You can work at that's when another name comes into play. They will call full stack developer. So a full stack developer is someone that specializes both in front-end development and back-end development. So you can do that. You can do that as well. So you just have to just do your stuff very well, where you can actually combine the front-end part and the back-end part and then match it together. For example, like PHP now, you can write both your front-end and back-end. You can have your PHP script where you have your index of PHP and then you write your index, your HTML is there, your CSS is there, your JavaScript there is there. But now it's no longer on the front side, it's now on the back side, it's now on the backend side. Well, that's when you now be talking about server side. So is your server, is your PHP's backend side. So it's now the PHP that will be handling all towards the activity of that particular web page. Though you have your HTML is there, your CSS is there, your JavaScript is there. So yeah, because you can work on the two, match everything together, but you have to do your research so you can know what you are. It's not only PHP. You have JavaScript as well, you have JS, you have Express. You can also write all your HTML, CSS there. And then, yeah, if you start this. So I hope that answers your question, Jonathan.
Ogochukwu Jonathan, does that answer your question? Okay. Do we have any other questions? I think Jonathan, does that answer your question then? Okay, if she's not responding, let's just thank you very much, Ezekiel. Thank you everyone for joining in today. Next week is another opportunity to come and learn. Next week we will be having an external facilitator come speak to us. By Monday, the design and all announcements should be out. Thank you so much, everyone. Please join us again, same time next week. Have a wonderful weekend ahead. Take care, everyone. Bye now.
Bye.